Well, I thought that was great, and we have we're lucky we have the creators, the writers, the cast. So I'm going to introduce everybody one at a time, and we're going to have a little panel discussion, and then we'll take some questions. First, I want to start with the show's creator, you know, from Pineapple Express and Your Highness. Let's hear it for David Gordon Green. And we're going to get to how he created this in a second. Then we have our showrunner and head writer, Tom Brady, not of the New England Patriots. And then we have, I know who he is, I just got to figure out what he does. Mike, what do you do? What is your actual title?
Producer.
Producer Mike Clemens. And our supervising director, Brad Abelson. So these are the masterminds behind what you just saw. Now I'm going to bring up some of the cast members. You've seen them in the show Suburgatory, which, by the way, is my new favorite show on ABC. Here's Alan Tudyk. He plays Ronnie. Yeah, right there. From Bored to Death, who plays the super hot Gina in here. Let's hear it for Olivia Thirlby.
Super hot.
Playing Mom Babs and bringing her wonderful East Coast accent to this. You know her from Entourage and Goodfellas. I love her from LA Law, but that makes me old. Here's Debbie Mazur. Playing the part of Mondo, having maybe one of the greatest years in the history of show business. From the Book of Mormon, here's Josh Gad. And from the OC and Scream 4, playing the part of Woody, Adam Brody. So we'll let everybody get a seat, and I guess the first question is, I'll start with David. Since this is your creation, where'd the idea come from?
Well, it was about 3.5 years ago, I guess, that we started talking about the idea. Brad and Mike and Tom Warner, one of the other producers, came to me and had the concept of a surfing animated television show. And did that inspire any ideas? So we just really started. It was honestly just like the good kind of powwow brainstorm session that you always dream about when you really click creatively with a group of people. And we just started talking about the comedic movies that we loved, and the influences of our youth that we loved, and a lot of you know, honest to goodness stories from our youth, and trying to bring an honesty of what it was like being a teenager and kind of a, you know, messed up position in your social circle and all that, and the ideas were born, and a lot of it's some far out absurd ideas that we think would be funny, and a lot of it's really close to home situations we've lived through. So that's where it came from.
I know it's hard to get a show.
We also all love food.
I know it's hard to get a show on TV. Is this a show that you pitched directly to MTV and they bought it, or was this an idea you had, you were pitching around?
We pitched it. We initially developed the idea with Fox, and we did the pilot for Fox, and then they didn't pick it up. And we were really fortunate to have screened it for MTV and shown them what we wanted to do, and they really caught on not only to what we had done already, but to what we'd even originally wanted to do, which had been somewhat tamed by some of the network standards. And MTV let us loose and encouraged us to go, you know, fully where we wanted to go creatively with the project. So it ended up being a real blessing to be able to work with them.
So you come up with this idea, then you hire this cast of, not the cast that does the voices, but the cast that are writers. So like a guy like Tom Brady, how did you find him?
And then it's just a matter of finding the right creative party. So Tom, you want to talk about how we...
Yeah, I feel like the luckiest guy in the world, because in a lot of ways, Good Vibes is, you know, you work in show business a long time and you wait for like the perfect show that fits your personality.
Yeah, you worked on The Simpsons, right?
Worked on The Simpsons and The Critic and PJs, came up in animation, moved over to live action TV and features. And during that time, though, I'm from Bayonne like Mondo. I was raised by a single mom like Mondo is. I moved to Hawaii and surfed, so I had that going, had the animation background. So this is really like the perfect project for me to get involved with. I can bring a lot to the table. And then Dave and I set out looking for the most twisted, crazy group of writers we could find, and we struck gold. A lot of first-time writers, and I think our test that we're looking for is people that had twisted, painful childhoods that they were willing to make fun of.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, I've seen the first 3 episodes, and they're almost all devoted to trying to figure out how to get laid. Which I think is, sort of hits the mark.
Still trying to figure it out.
Still trying to figure it out. And so, Mike, tell us what you do on the show and how you came about to jump in with the group. Pull the microphone over.
Another producer named Tom Warner, and he and I have a company, and we were smart enough to make a deal with Brad, who's an animator from The Simpsons, and he had created a short film we liked called Save Virgil. Remember that? You should check it out, guys, if you like it.
Okay.
And so we just made a deal with Brad and developed a few different projects, and this was the one that kind of percolated to the top and off to the races.
So Brad, you're the supervising director, so what does that mean in this project?
I'm basically in charge of the animation. I was fortunate enough to be involved from the beginning in terms of coming up with the concept and getting to hang out in the writer's room, which, as a big Simpsons nerd, having both been a fan and worked on the show, never got to get in that Simpsons writer room. So getting to see how Tom and these guys put together an episode was amazing. But then I basically took those scripts and I was in charge of putting the visuals together. So I worked with this great young company called 6 Point Harness that does flash animation, which was totally new to me. But I learned so much about how to produce a show really well and really cheap. We do the show with about a quarter of the budget, a quarter of the time, and a quarter of the resources of a show like The Simpsons. And I think it came out really great, and I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, I have a question about you do the animation and some of the writing. So so I don't know if you saw Miss Keats, is probably one of my favorite characters on this. Danny McBride doing the voice there. And at first, it took me into the middle of the second episode to realize that she's not handicapped, she's just fat. And that's what's so right about her. And in one of the episodes, she falls off her scooter, and I noticed that she's wearing a thong, which is really funny. So is that something that the writer writes, or is that something that while you're animating, you go, oh, this would be really funny to have Miss Keats wear this ridiculously small thong?
I think these twisted, perverted animators couldn't do anything but give her a thong.
It's great.
It wasn't in the script, it was just weird animators being weird.
All right, so now I'm going to go down and talk to some of the people who do the voices. Has anybody here done a voice on a cartoon before, or is this the first time for everybody?
It's the first for me.
First for me.
I played mother of Harvey Firestein in something called The Ugly Duckling, but it was like a one-day thing.
Right.
And this is my first time.
Debbie, can you slip into the voice that you do for the show?
Yeah.
But in fact, I understand that originally they didn't come from New Jersey, but once they cast you, that's what they had to come up with.
I found that out yesterday, actually. That my character is from the Midwest, and when I came in, they thought it'd be better to have the East Coast, West Coast thing, fish out of water type of situation.
Well, we wouldn't dream of having you change your accent. We decided to take advantage of that.
Well, I actually pump it up a little bit. I live in Los Angeles, and I think I've actually like my accent's a bit calmer than it used to be.
Can you do a neutral one? I was going to ask if you can do the Midwest.
But can you do a not New York accent?
I want to know what the Midwest is.
I can. I mean, I've studied. I can do also other accents. I can do Russian. I can do Italian. But Midwest is a little difficult for me, especially in comedy, because you want to be able to, play in your own skin, kind of. For me, it's difficult to lose.
I've always thought that you have a great voice for animation, and I think you really shine on this. I think it's,
Thank you.
You just have a very...
I had a blast doing it, I have to say, because for me, being an actor, to go into the room with these guys, and it's usually all men and me, and my character has very large breasts, and they're like, okay, you have to smother your son. So Monzo, come here. And at first it was a little bit embarrassing, I have to say, especially you weren't in the room with me. We could have done it actually
No, but I watched all of it on tape at home.
Well, that actually brings me to, there's a couple of questions I had. The first thing was when you guys created the show, did you have characters in mind already, or did you go out and hire the voices later? I know some people say, oh, I wrote this for somebody, or did you cast everybody after you drew them? Because Josh looks like that could have been you when you were a kid.
Thanks, Gary.
But you slimmed down nicely.
Yeah, well, that's what
8 shows a week.
8 shows a week will do you. No, I mean, well, you asked. I was going to answer it for you.
Yeah, I was
Yes,
gonna say,
you did
honestly,
develop it.
like casting anything is my favorite thing. You have an idea, you have a character, you have some dialogue or whatever, and so then people come in and give you their interpretation of it. And I love animation because you don't even need the baggage in their face. Actually, I remember where I was the first time I was like, because like you'll see somebody and you think, oh, they don't look the part, but then they can slip into something within their dialogue that's a little bit different. So for me, it's exciting to actually, the first time I would hear auditions for it, I wouldn't even read who they were or know anything about it. I just listened to the audio of it, close my eyes. And so you really can slip into something where an actor can truly be totally disguised in the world of animation, which I think is a real exciting thing in a way that we can actually exploit our talent to do multiple voices and things like that. It's a really fun thing. But the other beauty is to be able to, much like Brad was talking about in the animation, where the animators take over and add a little accent here, funny. Like for me, it's letting the actors loose, and we have great scripts that the writers have come up with, and then let's see what the texture and humor that the actors bring to the table is as well. So they really, once we have the kind of blueprint idea of what we want as a character, the audition process is really an actor coming in, interpreting that, and telling us what we didn't know we wanted. And so in every case, I didn't know what I was looking for, except something that would entertain me and something that felt like a good dynamic. So we'd evolve characters because we fell in love with Debbie and we wanted her voice in the show, and it may not have worked with what we designed, but we'd say, you know, who gives a shit? We're the boss, so let's redesign it for her. Danny McBride was an actor. I was just like, Danny, I'd love to get you in the show somehow because I know we'd have fun. And is there anything that you'd like to do? He's like, well, I just want to do something I'd never done before. I said, well, what about an overweight lesbian sex ed teacher? And that's a role that he's not getting offered on TV.
You and Danny go back a long way, right? How do you know Danny?
Yeah, Danny and I went to college together, so we've known each other for a long time.
So when you guys were in college, did you both consider yourselves really funny and say, oh my God, we know we're going to do great things, or were you like,
oh yeah, who doesn't say that? Right? but it was actually, it's interesting, like this is the first animated project I've been on, and Danny I have to credit as a guy that always is saying, do something you've never done before and look into some new idea, new genre, and he's always, you know, because we were such geeks in college and loved so many different types of movies and TV shows and comic books and anything, like we were always pushing each other to kind of, now that we're at a professional point where we get to explore that, why not learn from these guys and collaborate with these guys and really use that as a great opportunity?
well, I was reading some stuff about you. Who would you say your favorite director of all time is?
Mine?
Yeah.
Robert Altman? I don't know.
Now, how does Robert Altman come to this cartoon?
He actually, I think you get a few laughs out of it. He was a stunner from what I understand, so you might get it.
All right, so we'll go back to some of the characters. So Adam, I would say you don't look anything like the character that you're there.
Funny thing is, I did in high school. I surfed a lot. I had a blonde afro from the sun, not because I had blonde hair naturally. And I was going to bring my license, my old license. I'm going to at some point. They've never seen it either, but
I like that in there.
Now, but I did.
I like that in there. You're like, it's like two nerdy guys, but you're sort of the less nerdy guy. You're sort of like I say like Anthony Michael Hall at 60 Candles. You're king of the dipshits, but, you know, of the two of you guys. And so you get to show him the ropes and show him around. So they bring you in for this, and so how do you decide what the voices you're going to play?
I know, that's a pretty funny one. I auditioned for it, and I think it was a voice that just kind of came out naturally. You can't, I don't know, I just couldn't say the dialogue like me. It didn't even work, so I had to, I just had to try it on in a few different ways, and that was just how it kind of came out. It's sort of a Barney, you know,
Did you,
the dinosaur.
Can you give us a little bit of it?
Sure, what do you want me to say?
No, before you went to the first day, I don't know, do you audition or did they just say, hey Adam, we want you to do it?
No, I auditioned.
And so did you have like other voices in your head? Like Debbie, I know pretty much you had your voice in your head because that's the voice they were looking for. But for you, were you trying out a bunch of different
I
ideas?
still auditioned.
What's that?
I still auditioned.
Yeah, but I think they pretty much knew what they were looking for.
But when Debbie came
I
in
think-
for her audition, she really, you could tell she really wanted the role. She came in a blonde wig and a really just tight shirt.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that I wore the blonde wig. I got into character.
Really?
We had some visuals
Yeah.
for it. Bab used to be blonde.
That's right.
And so she wanted it so bad. She had this big blonde
I have a
wig
picture
on.
of me and you together
Great.
in a recording studio.
That's so funny. I just came in board shorts.
And a thong.
Now, Olivia, how did you come to the project?
I actually only met all of these amazing people except for David yesterday, and it's been so crazy. We've been recording this show for a while, and this is really my first time to get to celebrate with the cast and everyone and the creators. And I came to this project because about 4 or 5 years ago, David directed a movie called Snow Angels, which I'm super proud to have been a part of. And at the time, I don't know if you were already working on this, but I think I told you that it was a dream of mine to be able to voice animation. It's something I've always wanted to try. And so then when the auditions came along, I think that's pretty much the only reason I got to audition. And it just kind of went from there. I tried on different voices, but I ended up, Gina's mostly me. Sometimes she has like a little bit of, shininess or squeakiness, but
She's very sweet though. She's got a sweetness to her.
she is. She's pretty wholesome, but then every now and again she surprises you and says something really dirty.
Well, that's funny too, because you say she's pretty wholesome, but she's definitely not drawn wholesome. So when you walked in, did you you're like, I dig being drawn this way? I mean, you're happy being drawn like that?
I think Gina's smoking hot, and I'm pretty thrilled that she has pink hair, and yeah.
Yeah, she's really hot for a cartoon. I was surprised at how hot. I'm like, wow, this cartoon's pretty hot.
She's kind of hippie hot,
yeah.
Which I like. Free Tibet, She's got that little. She hugs trees.
Now, Alan, how did you come to the project? Alan, I just watched 3 episodes of Supergatory last night, which I love. Nice. But you weren't in this particular episode, but I've seen you in some future episodes. You play Adam's dad, right?
I was in this episode.
I missed it.
I'm that guy who's in the van.
Oh, you're the guy in the van.
Yeah.
Because when the notes I got is you only play the dad. So
No, I have a scene with myself in here. I forgot that. Right at the top,
Where he's talking about, Playa del Toro and all of that, and then
he pulls out and I'm peeing on a wall. There's another guy's like, "Come on, man, move out of the way. Other people gotta use the wall too." That's me also.
Alan's kind of our Hank Azaria. Like he's the guy we throw every crazy
I
word
love that.
to, and he can just go from one to another. It's amazing to watch.
Now, was Singing Foghat in the script, or is that something you just brought to it yourself?
No, that was in the script. I think that was, we were hoping that was going to be the song that we could sing. We tried other songs and then also just gibberish songs.
Do you have to clear that, or is it enough that can you sing 8 bars of Slow Ride and not have to pay for it?
No, it was very expensive.
Really? You have to pay for that?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Even MTV has to pay for it.
So I've always wondered with animation, what's the process? Do you guys all get into a room together? Do you rehearse a week? Do you block a week like a regular show? Or do different people come in and out at different times to do their voices?
It's so it starts with the script, of course. The time we're all together and we really get to see it feel like a play is at the table read. That's when all the actors come together and you see what works and what doesn't work. The recording, initially, I know David was a big proponent of getting everybody together just to kind of play off each other. As the show progressed, it became more and more impossible to do that. So people tend to come in by themselves and record their parts. But they have the foundation of knowing how it plays from the table read.
Have all of you gone in singularly, or have you been in together at certain times doing stuff?
Adam and I did.
We did a lot of stuff together.
Like an episode or two before you went. No, and then that did not warrant applause. We had you guys did it. It's always fun when you do get a chance to play with your partner, especially.
You're just going in deeper.
Yes, you just want to, you want to penetrate. There's really something nice about being able to kind of play in the room together, and especially when you're playing best friends, because this has gone on for far too long. I love that opportunity, but you don't really get a chance to do it because usually I'm in New York, he's in LA, and the whole cast she's in Africa.
I'll tell you what you do get to do that's kind of interesting though, it's kind of fun, is when you are doing it by yourself, you just get to kind of do each line 5 times in a row. You get to rifle off, sort of rattle off like 5 different versions in a row, which is kind of nice and fun, and it leads to interesting new creative choices, I guess.
David, I'm going to throw this one at you. So you guys are clearly pushing the envelope, even for MTV. Again, it's funny because my grammar school nurse, her name was Miss Kunz. and when the girls go cunts, like how do you even get that on the air?
It's spelled with a K.
Oh, now I see.
With a K and a Z.
I mean, you know, you laugh, but it is playing games like that, and there's certainly codes we need to. There's rules you got to follow to some degree to get things on the air. But we try to play games and push the envelope and be a little subversive. And
is there stuff coming up in future episodes that are like that are just pushing the envelope?
There's quite a bit of that. What is the Best Friends episode? That's like episode 3 or something. Yeah, I mean, there's some. You know what I love about the show. One of the things that I'm really proud of is not just shock value, because it has a little of that, but it's not what we hang our hat on. We hang our hat on being able to really to be able to have some pretty outrageous material, but it's grounded in characters that you identify with and situations that you can sympathize with. So there's that level of heart that helps balance out the more insane, vulgar side. So I think we were able to get away with some of our vulgarity and some of our strange perversions because of the fact that it's rooted in something that's like it's honest and sincere.
It's got to be smart. It's got to be clever, which it totally is. It's funny because when they asked me to moderate the panel, I said, well, send me some episodes of the show. So I watched this while I was sitting in my office at home, but watching it again here and seeing everybody laugh. Have you seen this in front of an audience yet? So what did you think? I mean, the laughs were, I loved where the laughs were coming in. People really seem to enjoy it. Is it as a writer, first of all, as performers, I want to ask how you felt, but as a writer, do you go, oh, that joke worked, that didn't work? How do you feel when you're watching it in front of an audience?
Yeah, that's always a kind of a tough, sweaty situation. Like, oh, please work. And it was great to see that you guys laughed at a lot of the jokes. More importantly, though, I felt like people were going along for the ride with the story and the characters and investing a little bit. And that was the best thing, I think, to feel. When the story moments pay off.
Right. So how many episodes did you do for the first season?
We've got 12.
And they're done, they're all in the can, right?
Yeah.
Tell me, I was looking at all the episodes, but just tell me a little bit more about, like I said, to me, this is just two guys trying to figure out how to see chicks naked. A lot of it is. So tell me the one about what's the premise of the breast exam one? Because I was reading that, it made me laugh just reading it.
All right, so Mondo, Woody, it's Breast Awareness Week, and they realize that this is their chance to see a lot of breasts. If they can somehow volunteer in the breast truck, they can't go as themselves. Mammogram. It's not a breast truck. It becomes a breast truck. It would be nice if it wasn't. It actually shaped like a breast. No. So the mammogram truck, they try to go as themselves, they can't get in, so then they try to go in drag, and it works. Gina's fooled by them dressed as women. But instead of seeing a lot of the voluptuous breasts of the young girls in town, they end up learning a lot more about female anatomy than any teenage boy ever wants to know. And it goes, they learn everything.
But there is a nice PSA by Mondo in the end about breast cancer. Way to ruin the end game. just act on.
By the way, I love one of my favorite characters who isn't here today is Watska, and he just gets creepier as the season goes on. And I love they call him lovable, and he's just super creepy, I think. But it makes me laugh.
He's the guy with the glasses, the shades, who threw the seal in the water.
Tony Hale from Arrested Development does his voice, and it's actually based on someone that David knows. Right?
Yeah, it was actually a creepy guy that I went to high school with. It was an inspiration of that.
And that's Gina's brother, right? That's Gina's little brother who's medicated, and sometimes it works.
And that was one of the funny early story evolutions. Is like Watsko was going to be so far out that like he'd be so easy to be. If I was Woody and Mondo, I'd be like, I don't want this guy around me. So it was one of you guys' ideas. It's like, well, we need to anchor him into the situation so they don't just beat the crap out of him and send him away. So he has to be, related to someone that they need. So, and I think we can push Watsko really far that way because because Mondo's always going to want to get with Gina and not piss off her little brother.
There's a great episode later in the season where all the kids are just too involved in technology, so they get sent to this island where this guy has like no technology whatever, and Watska gets hit by a snake on his thigh, and somebody has to suck out the venom, and it's very, very funny. It's very funny, very funny. So who would you say you're gearing the show to? Who would you say, because I heard one of the producers was saying that, or somebody was saying that, oh, David, you were saying earlier that your 50-year-old gay hairdresser has already seen it and loves it.
He saw the making of, which was on last night, like around midnight, and he couldn't believe that. He said it was really witty. And it took him in. My husband's Italian from Italy, and like he's the biggest fan of this show. He's like seen a couple different versions of things they've sent me, and he gets it, he understands it. So I'm just curious how the women are digging it.
Yeah, who has surprised you the most that has said to you, like what sort of audience you say, well, I wasn't expecting them. I know I'm gonna get the guys.
Well, on a personal level, I have to say this, because I come from a family that thinks that I'm weird. And literally, like, I remember watching my dad watch Pineapple Express for the first time, and I was sitting behind him watching him and didn't crack a smile. And I was like, shit. Like, finally I've broken into some sort of commercial Hollywood terrain, and my father doesn't think it's funny. So, and so I've kind of had that little stigma and hanging on my back for a while. And then a couple of weeks ago, I was visiting my parents, and I showed them. It was like, it's the last episode, second to last episode, because we were just kind of finishing up the season, and I showed him one, and he laughed like 10 times. And it's on my computer. I was just sitting there watching it, and showing it to him on my computer, just showing what I was up to. And he laughed like 10 times, and that's like, you know, not a guy that thinks, traditionally would think this kind of a humor is funny, but the point is that we've engineered it for you guys, like for ourselves self-indulgently, for you guys. And then the fact that we could get my 72-year-old grumpy dad to like get a few laughs out of it, that's awesome. The fact that we get a 50-year-old gay hairdresser to like it, that's a great thing. The fact that, you know, kids will be like 9 years old and their parents are going to be like, what are you watching? That's a great thing. You know, all those things I think really can be a testament to the attraction of the stories and the identification with the characters, which is a tribute to the cast.
The show premieres October 27th. It's following Mike Judge's new Beavis and Butthead on MTV at 10:30. But immediately after this, it's posted online for fans to check out. It's going to be at MTV.com. It's on EntertainmentWeekly.com for a couple of days. But we have a couple of minutes. Do we have any questions in the audience? Anybody have any questions for either the writers or any of the performers or anything like that? Right over there, stand up.